What's going on, guys? This is KNasty3090 here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going over my ballot for the 2019 Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, I don't have a ballot. I'm not part of BBWAA. I don't have a vote, but I have an opinion. I have a YouTube channel. So I figured I'd give you guys my list. And I was going to do this on Twitter, and I thought it's just best for me to explain who I think should get it and why. And I think it's better for you guys if you want to tell me who, or if I made a mistake, or if you think I made a mistake, or if you think I omitted someone. Meet me in the comments and let's try to be reasonable adults about this and not just say, quote unquote, you're stupid for not including this person or for including this person. This is everyone's opinion. I will try to tell you why I think a person should be on and why they should not be on. But let's get into it, guys. Now, if you didn't know, you get each ballot, you're allowed to have 10 people you can vote for. It doesn't matter what you can vote for. Now, some voters for some reason never want anyone to be on their first ballot because Babe Ruth didn't get 100%, so no player should get 100%. Or some people will just vote on their friends, or some people won't vote for guys who who failed a drug test, or people thought they took steroids or PEDs, or people who play DH. There are voters like that. I'm not gonna be like an idiot about this. Like I hate to be rude, but there are voters who are stupid. And I'm going to try to be as intelligent as I can about this. So, let's get into it. First on the list, Barry Bonds. Best hitter I've ever seen. Best player I have ever seen. Second best player I have ever seen is Mike Trout. Best ever is Barry Bonds. You can argue he's the best player of all time. You can. I would not hate your argument on that. The dude has the most career home runs. He had an on-base percentage in 2004 of over 60%. More than 60% of the time, he reached base. He walked over 200 times in a season before. I mean, he hit 7. I mean, there's so many things about Bonds as a player. He's 500 stolen bases, 500 home runs. He has just everything you can think of. MVPs, Gold Gloves. He was the definition of a 5-tool player. I know he took steroids. He admitted in front of a grand jury that he unknowingly took steroids. I'm not buying that. I'm assuming he knew he took steroids. I think that's pretty safe to say. I don't care. There are people in the Hall of Fame who probably or definitely took steroids. I don't know. I know some people don't like naming names. Jeff Bagwell probably took steroids. Ricky Henderson would not be shocked if he took steroids. Guys like, when I say steroids, even like PEDs, like human growth hormones. I don't want to go through every name, but I know there are people in the Hall of Fame who took roids or PEDs. So don't be picking and choosing a guy for one reason or another. Now, I'll get to something later, which I'll explain why, but Barry Bonds, you cannot have, it's not the Hall of Fame if you don't have the best hitter of all time, in my opinion, or at least the best hitter I've ever seen in there. I was at the Hall of Fame this past summer. There wasn't even an exhibition about him hitting home runs. There was one about McGwire, but there was nothing about Bonds. Like, they had a thing about the 98 season with McGwire and Sosa, and even Griffey to an extent. There's nothing about Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, which is just stupid. I don't know. I hope he gets in. He will eventually get in. I'm fairly certain of that unless just something crazy happens. But he should be in the Hall of Fame. So if I'm thinking Bonds should be on the Hall of Fame, obviously Clemens, Hall of Famer. I mean, I think he has the most career Cy Youngs, 300 wins, 3,000 strikeouts, dominant pitcher. I know he took steroids as well. I know everyone says he started taking them in Toronto when he met with Brian McNamee. Then that went to New York, Houston, all that fun stuff. If you just look at his career as a Red Sox, I am a Red Sox fan, but that was like, he left the Red Sox in 96. I was 6 years old, I think, that he left in 96. I was born in 1990. I don't remember Clemens. I have no personal attachment. In fact, when I think Clemens, I think of him as a Yankee. So there's like some hatred to me with Clemens, but he is an amazing pitcher. He is like he has the freak show accomplishment, and he did it twice, 10 years apart. He struck out 20 batters in 86 and 96. That is incredible, and that's both pre-alleged steroids. I'm going to say alleged, but he took steroids. He is the best right-handed pitcher probably of all time, or at least in like post-dead ball. I think the best right-handed pitcher I saw for like a short period of time was Pedro. But Clemens had an extended window of that. Now you can say steroids helped him with that. Probably did. But hell of a career, and like, don't pick and choose. He should be a Hall of Famer. Next up, we're going with a guy who's first time on the ballot. Roy Halladay, Doc Halladay, rest in peace. I know he died, and it sucks that when he is elected, I'm not sure if it'll be this year. I hope it's this year. He won't be there to get it. Probably be some of his family. But, I mean, he threw a no-hitter in a playoff game that hasn't been done, I don't think, since Don Larson, unless I'm forgetting someone else, when he threw the perfect game. He threw a couple perfect games. He didn't have an extraordinary long peak, but his peak was so dominant with the Blue Jays and with the Phillies. I always just remember going up against, like, watching, like, my teams go up against him, because he did play in the American League East. I watched him a lot. You knew what he was going to do was Maddox-like. He wasn't going to be 120 pitches through 6 innings and strike out 12 guys during that. He was going to pitch 8 innings, throw 90 pitches, strike out 7, and just be dominant. And just picking corners, making hitters look foolish based off. He threw hard. He didn't throw incredibly hard. But his stuff, he had a great curve, great changeup, good fastball. He could locate both sides of the plate. He was an amazing pitcher. He pitched. He didn't throw, he pitched. And I think he will, I think he will get extra votes given the fact that kind of what happened about his life. But I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, so he's on this list. Next up is an interesting name. It's Todd Helton. His career WAR is over 70. Now, I know he played in Coors Field, and everyone's going to be like, well, he played in Coors. He played in Coors. Yeah, I know he played in Coors. We can't hold that against someone. It's not something he had any choice over. He was signed, drafted. I guess he could have left as a free agent and never stayed. But why would someone do that because of their legacy as a Hall of Famer? He was an amazing hitter. He was a terrible fielder. And I think if he was a designated hitter, which is crazy, that he might get more votes because his, like, for instance, his wins above replacement would probably be higher because he was a negative defensive player. But he could hit. I mean, he hit 370 plus 1 year. I know he played in Coors. I understand that. I know people will say that. Look at his numbers, irrelevant to Coors. And one thing that WAR does, especially in Baseball Reference, it takes away the fact of the ballpark you in. They have equalizers for a ballpark. If you play in a hitter's ballpark, it brings your stats down for the wins above replacement ratio. If you play in a pitcher's ballpark, it brings your, it would, like, say if you hit 320 in a pitcher's ballpark compared to 370 in a hitter's ballpark, they'll kind of bring them together. So even with that, his WAR is still like over 70, and Hall of Famers are like 55 to 60, most Hall of Famers. So he's easily in there, in my opinion. I know he hasn't gotten there yet. Obviously, he's on the ballot. I hope he does. He was just a great. I hate this phrase because I mean, all baseball players who are professionals are professional hitters, but you think professional hitter, I think Todd Helton. Next up, I'm going with Andruw Jones. He was something that today's baseball strives to be. He was like the one of three true outcomes, home run, walk, strikeout. That's kind of what Andruw Jones was before it was cool. And he got a lot of flack for it. Like, I remember people always like, oh, all he does is hit home. I mean, he hit 50 home runs, I think, once or twice. He came up in the bigs when he was 19. He hit several home runs in the World Series against the Yankees as a 19-year-old, an elite defender. I never saw someone make center field look so cool. I remember growing up watching, like, TBS always used to have the Braves games, and you could watch Andruw Jones just catch a fly ball. The glove would be at his waist, and he would just catch a ball that's 350 feet away from home plate, and he would just nonchalantly catch it. I never saw anyone make center field look so cool. And he did. He was amazing at that. In the league, probably the second best defensive center fielder I have seen. I put Jim Edmonds above him in that. I think Edmonds was the best center fielder. I think Andruw Jones made it look cooler, but I think Jim Edmonds was just a little better in my opinion. But that's splitting hairs. I mean, if you want to put him one over him, I'm fine with that. But he was an elite power. He didn't hit the 500 home runs, over 400. Like I said, he walked a good amount. And I think if you played in today's era, he would be appreciated more for what he did. Elite defense, got on base. Yeah, he did strike out, which people hated him at the time. But now people don't care that you strike out. Maybe because of that, he'll get more votes in. I hope so. But we'll see. Next up is the second best DH of all time, Edgar Martinez. I am a Red Sox fan, but David Ortiz is the best DH of all time. I'm sorry. He's just the best. If you disagree with that, it is what it is. Anyway, with Edgar, what he did, though, at the plate, I mean, elite. An elite hitter. Could do everything at the plate. He could hit for power. He didn't really strike out. He could get on base. Just all around a great player. And I think it's just a joke he hasn't been in. And it's only because he's a DH. Voters, for some reason, the DH has been a rule since 1973 or 1974. American League only, you guys already know this. For some reason, voters don't want to vote for it. I don't understand why. And if voters are saying, well, they don't play defense, so it's a position. He was, I think you should, I mean, that will hurt a player because they can't play defense. They can't help them that way. There's a reason why I don't believe any full-time DH has won an MVP, because they don't bring any value anywhere except hitting. But Edgar Martinez, for his career, an amazing hitter. I think he should have been like a Hall of Famer by like his 3rd ballot. I think this is his 10th ballot. He is getting in this year. I know for a fact he is. So that's great to see. Edgar Martinez, I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame. So we're at, right now, 6. We got 4 more names to go with. I'm going to go with a name that you guys may not realize how dominant he was. Mike Mussina. I hated watching this guy. Like I said, Red Sox fan. I started watching baseball a lot in like 97, 98. I was like 7 or 8 years old. I started watching baseball like every day with my dad and my mom and my sisters. We're all diehard baseball fans. So Mussina was with the Orioles until 2000. 2001, he went to the Yankees. He only played his career in the American League East, which during from, I think, 94 was his rookie year, 95, until I think 2008 was his career. He only pitched in the American League East when it was the dominant hitters division, probably the toughest division in baseball. And he dominated as close as you could. Now, his ERA, I think, is like 3.6, but he didn't get the 3,000 strikeouts. He didn't get 300 wins. He didn't get any of those like numbers that put you in. You know, like it used to be 500 home runs you got you in, or 3,000 hits, 300 wins, 3,000 strikeouts, 500 saves. Like those magic numbers, which really don't mean a lot now when you look at it. But like, for instance, his wins above replacement, his WAR for his career is 83. I mentioned 55 to 60 is like a Hall of Fame player or pitcher. His is at 83. It's because he pitched in the American League East. He did really well. He was just and he wasn't a guy who was like rah, didn't show, I mean, he was a quiet assassin. I feel like that kind of hurts him now, the fact that he hasn't been voted on. I hope he gets in. He should get in. And like I said, I'm a Red Sox fan. And he'll probably, when he goes in, he'll probably go in as a Yankee. Speaking of Yankees, Mariano Rivera, the most dominant reliever of all time. Of all time. It's not even close. It is not even close. I am not a fan of relievers getting in the Hall of Fame. I made a video about this in the past. I don't think Trevor Hoffman should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think Lee Smith should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think... I think Goose Gossett should be in. I think Eckersley should be in because he was also a starter and a dominant starter. Same with John Smoltz. Rivera was probably the only true reliever I feel like that should be in. At least right now. Because it's so hard for them to have an impact on it. Now, I know you're going to say, well, the reliever's a position like a designated hitter. Yes, and there's no designated hitters in. But I think there should be the elite of the elite should be in. Like the elite of the relievers. And I think Rivera is the best I've ever seen. He threw one pitch, and I don't know how. I always watched and be like, he's going to throw you a cutter away, and then bust you in on it if you're a left-handed hitter. If you're a right-handed hitter, he'll go away, and then throw a front door cutter in on you. How can you not see this coming? And they couldn't. It was remarkable. I mean, as a fan, I knew what he was going to do, and you knew there was nothing you could do to stop it. Now, the Red Sox actually hit him. They're one of the few teams that could hit him. But still, he is the best reliever of all time, the GOAT of relievers. There will never be someone as dominant as him, in my opinion. Maybe one day there will be. I don't know. But yeah, he's the best I've ever seen. So he's definitely in. So right now we are now at 8. We got 2 more. Hang on, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, we got 2 more. Next on the list, Scott Rolen. You're like, really? Scott Rolen? Yes, Scott Rolen. Maybe the best defensive third baseman next to Adrian Beltre of this generation. One of the best base runners I ever saw. Now, I'm not talking about stealing bases. I'm not talking about speed. I'm just meaning getting first to third, reading an outfield, reading an infield. Like, I did not watch him every day, but I watched him enough to recognize this. If you're a fan, if you're like a Phillies fan or a Cardinals fan where you played a lot of years there, you'll know this. You know Scott Rolen was an elite base runner, and it's weird to say that for a guy who wasn't fast, but he was an elite base runner. He would always read an outfield perfectly. He would never get like thrown out the plate on like a line drive to the outfield. Like he would know if he was going to make it or not. Like he didn't need a third base coach with Scott Rolen. He's also an elite hitter, an elite hitter. So he's an elite hitter, an elite fielder, and a great base runner. And he played at an important position, which doesn't get a lot of love in the Hall of Fame. Look at third baseman in the Hall of Fame. There aren't many. I don't know why. because there's a lot of value at third base because you need to have good defense left side of the infield. I mean, there's usually good power hitters there. I mean, like I'm thinking off the top of my head, there's like Michael Jack Schmidt, there's Brooks Robinson, Beltre will be in there. Chipper Jones played third, but there's not a ton. Like you think of how many third basemen there are in there. I know there's more. I'm just drawing a blank off the top of my head. There's not many in there, and I think he should be. I really do. His numbers, like if you look at his WAR, I mean, he's right at that 55 to 60. But I'm on the Scott Rolen train. I think he should be in there. Now, last, now this is tough because there's two names I really want to do. There's Billy Wagner and Larry Walker. Billy Wagner because if Lee Smith and Trevor Hoffman are in, Billy Wagner is better than both of them, without a doubt. And Larry Walker, who I mentioned, kind of like Todd Helton, he kind of gets shamed for playing some of his best years in Colorado. But Larry Walker was also dominant with the Montreal Expos, and he had some good years with the Cardinals as well. And he was an amazing hitter. I think he hit over 370. I think he hit over 380 one year. He could hit. I think he hit 50 home runs a year or two. He was a really good defensive player before injuries really started to bother with him. He had some speed too. I hate the fact that he gets so much. I feel bad if I was a Rockies fan knowing that my players get shamed for playing in a ballpark that's just a higher altitude. Now with a humidifier, or dehumidifier, excuse me, the humidor, whatever you want to call it, that kind of has brought that down. Larry Walker was an amazing hitter. If you watched him every day, you'd be like, holy cow, he doesn't strike out. Even when he made outs, he hit the ball hard. He was just a guy you were afraid to pitch to. And I think that's a great way to figure out if a guy's a Hall of Famer. Were you afraid to face him? And was this fear for a prolonged period of time? With all these guys, I feel like they were. With Bonds, Clemens, Halladay, Helton, Jones, Edgar, Martinez, Mussina, Rivera, Rolen, Walker. There was fear when you faced them. There's fear. And it wasn't for like a year or two. It was for 5, 6, 7, 10. Rivera was 15, 18 years. Bonds, Clemens was 20. There's fear for a long time. So because of that, they'd get in. Now, if I was going to do like first, like honorable mentions, like I mentioned, Billy Wagner, I think Gary Sheffield, maybe Curt Schilling is up there. Fred McGriff, very underrated. Lance Berkman's very underrated, but you only can vote for 10. Jeff Kent's also very underrated, second baseman. But there is my list of 10. Like I said, I want to hear in the comments down below, guys, who do you think should be in? Did I make any mistakes, or do you think I nailed the ballot? I think I nailed my ballot, obviously, but I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. If you did enjoy this, please drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new, if you want more videos like this. I'll talk to you later, boys. Take it easy. Peace.